Imagine the atmosphere. The world stage had just gone silent for a moment, but in the midst of that silence, the voice of a young man from Korea echoed again. He is none other than Jungkook, the golden Maknae, who has always had an unexpected way to turn the map of the global music industry. Recently, the entertainment world was surprised again by his experimental move. Jungkook tried a new vocal style. But this was not just a change in the usual singing technique, but an experiment that shook the entire pop ecosystem, making musicians, producers, and even longtime fans seem to stop for a moment and say, "Wait, that's Jungkook?" Yes. A voice that was once soft, controlled, and clean as glass now sounds heavier, raw, and more human. There was a trill behind his breath. There was a subtle hoarse at the end of the note that had rarely appeared so far. It's as if Jungkook is opening up to another side of himself, a more mature, bolder, and far from the perfect Maknae image we used to know. But how did all this happen? To understand that, we need to trace the long trail that shaped his courage. A change in vocal style is no small thing for a global star, especially for Jungkook, whose career is almost flawless. From the early BTS era to his solo career that rocked the world charts, his voice was known to have a distinctive character, clear, flexible, and full of precision. He can sing a silky smooth falsetto, then change to a powerful note full of energy in just one line of lyrics. But this time it was different. Her new vocals sounded like they came out of a deeper place. Fans who first heard a leak of his new voice from a recording session at a Los Angeles studio said, "Jungkook sounds like himself who just went through a storm." And indeed, there is a kind of wound that is implied there, but it is not a sad wound. It is a wound that grows into art. In the pop industry, an experiment like this isn't just a technique, it's a statement. He said, "I don't want to be just a good singer. I want to be a human being that you can hear his emotions through every sigh." Jungkook is no longer afraid to sound imperfect. He even refused excessive auto-tune on some of his new tracks, wanting to maintain the raw edge that is rare in modern pop music. The technicians at his studio in LA, it was a shock, because usually major labels prefer clean results. But Jungkook insisted, "Let my breath be heard, let it taste raw." This kind of attitude shows that he's not just an idol now, he's an artist who knows what he wants to say. Jungkook's vocal experiments didn't come out of nowhere. In recent months, he has been known to listen to music from darker and atmospheric genres, R&B, neo-soul, alternative pop, even a slight touch of indie rock. He is said to idolize singers like The Weeknd, James Blake, and Bruno Major, musicians who focus not only on the beautiful voice, but also on the raw emotion behind it. But interestingly, while many Asian artists are trying to imitate Western styles, Jungkook actually absorbed that influence without losing his typical Korean touch. He still maintains a balance between the precision technique typical of idols and the spontaneous feeling typical of street singers. When he sings in his new style, there is a unique harmony between the discipline of the East and the freedom of the West. As if two worlds that used to be separate are now fused through his vocal cords. One producer she worked with even said, "She has a sense of being like an American R&B singer, but with a subtle Asian flavor. That's a rare combination." And maybe that's what makes this experiment special. It's not about chasing trends, it's about finding the true voice within. Jungkook's move not only had an impact on fans, but also shook young musicians in Korea. Many singers and trainees in large agencies began to try rehearsals with more emotional and experimental vocal methods. Some even call it the Jungkook effect, a phenomenon in which young artists dare to let go of old techniques and begin to look for honesty in their own voice. Korean media began reviewing it with dramatic titles such as Asterisk, Jungkook changes K-pop vocal standards? Asterisk. While in America, some music journalists wrote that Jungkook now looked like a singer who is finding his artistic freedom. In fact, some Western musicians wanted to collaborate with her, not because of her popularity, but because of the new character in her voice. It was rumored that one of the famous R&B producers in New York had already contacted her, saying that the color of her vocals now sounds more mature and magnetic. This is interesting because usually Korean artists are known to go with the flow of production, but Jungkook actually reversed the direction. He created a new flow. Another leak came from a sound engineer who worked with him. He told how Jungkook often recorded alone in the studio with only dim lights and the soothing scent of black coffee. He tried different timbres of voice, from very low to almost a whispering falsetto, as if he were acting out different emotions in each note. He wasn't just singing, said the technician. He was acting by voice. That's how Jungkook treats his music now, as a sound film, not just a song. He creates atmosphere through sighs, pauses in breathing, even deliberate pitch imperfections. It is not surprising that every time footage of his new record appears, netizens immediately make long theories on the forums. Is this a sign of the direction of his new album? Are you moving to a new genre? Or is it just a mere experimental phase before the next big era? Many noticed that Jungkook's new vocal style felt much more honest. In each note, there is a kind of relief as well as courage. She no longer sings to satisfy public expectations, but to talk to herself. It's not just about the music, but about the journey of a man who grows up under the spotlight, then slowly learns to discover who he is without a stage, without a camera, without the label Golden Maknae. And that's where her true beauty comes in. Her new voice sounds like an adult version of the young people who used to sing Times. Begin Times at the Times Wings Tour, Times concerts. Now, Jungkook isn't trying to be perfect, he's being real. If we look at Jungkook's career journey from 2013 to now, it all feels like a chapter in a big book of modern music. From being a shy teenager at auditions, to being the lead vocalist of BTS who ruled the world stage, to now being an independent artist who experiments with his own soul. This is not just a career evolution, but a human evolution. Many artists lose their way when they are at the top, but Jungkook challenges himself. He does not want to be known only as a singer with a beautiful voice, but as a singer who has a story behind every note. And perhaps that's where the secret of the immortality of a star lies. Not in how hard it shines, but in how sincerely it dares to change in front of the world. And now, as the world awaits his new work, one thing is certain: Jungkook is no longer just a golden mean. He was a man who dared to create a new definition of beauty in the human voice, sometimes quivering, sometimes hoarse, but always honest. A new chapter has been opened, and as always, the whole world is ready to listen. When the first snippet of Jungkook's recording with his new vocals leaked on the internet, the public reaction was really interesting. Some fans were immediately taken aback, calling it the era of Jungkook's true voice. But not a few were surprised, even confused. Why does he sound more hoarse? Heavier? Ask some people on social media. But that's exactly where the magic lies. Jungkook is stepping into a deeper realm. A realm where sound is judged not just by its beauty, but by the honesty that lies behind it. It no longer pursues the perfect high note, but the feeling that makes the listener pause and feel touched. If in the past every song was like a clean mirror, Now it is like a painting, not perfect, but full of texture and meaning. Interestingly, this change did not come suddenly. In recent months, fans have noticed how Jungkook appears more often with a calm and reflective lifestyle. He is often seen carrying a small notebook, taking notes in between trips, and spending more time in his small studio. A source close to him said, "Jungkook has been listening to a lot of his own records lately, not to judge, but to feel." She said she wanted to know what he would sound like if he wasn't trying to be perfect. The sentence is simple, but it has great weight for a world artist. Because for a person who from the age of 15 lived under cameras and global expectations, finding the courage to be imperfect, it was a revolutionary step. During one of the recording sessions, Jungkook even asked the technician to turn off the lights completely. He sings in the dark. Only the sound of breathing and the echo of the studio space remained. "I want to hear myself without any visuals," she says. "Just the sound and what I felt." This is where some new vocal pieces are born. Vocals that sound rough in some parts but warm in others. A vowel that is no longer spaced but feels like it is speaking directly in the ear of the listener. Many say that this style is reminiscent of the era of legendary musicians who rejected the template of the mainstream sound, such as Amy Winehouse, Adele, or even Kurt Cobain in its most emotional form. But in Jungkook's hands, the style feels fresh, classy, and still modern. For Jungkook, trying new things doesn't mean abandoning the old. He has enriched his legacy. He can still sing falsetto like silk, but now he adds a texture like granite underneath, as if to show that true power is not in perfection, but in contrast between soft and hard, light and dark, control and freedom. One of the producers at the session recounted, "She tried to sing with an unusual mouth position. Sometimes he looked down, sometimes he leaned against the wall, sometimes he closed his eyes and whispered into the mic." It wasn't just a style, it was an exercise to bring out new colors from her vocal cords. Such a technique is often used soul or blues singers, but very rarely done Korean pop singers. And the result? Shocking. In some recordings, Jungkook's voice sounds like it combines three things at once: the vocal power of a pop singer, the emotional depth of a soul singer, and the intimacy typical of indie singers. It's such a difficult mix, but somehow it manages to make it feel natural. Many music critics who had previously praised his technical ability have now begun to highlight aspects of his interpretation, how each lyric he sings feels alive. One music reviewer from Rolling Stone said, "Jungkook now sounds like a singer who knows how to feel a song, not just sing it." As footage leaked and rumors spread about her new vocal experiments, the music world began to react. Several major labels in America began to see the potential to make Jungkook a bridge between the Asian pop market and the Western soul market. There were even rumors that one of the famous R&B labels in Los Angeles invited her to an experimental collaborative project, not as a guest artist, but as the lead vocalist. This shows that the change in her vocal style is not only bold, but also strategic. Jungkook not only expanded his identity as a musician, but also extended the influence of Korean music to genres that have not been touched by many K-pop artists. On the other hand, long-time BTS fans responded with a sense of emotion. They see this transformation as a spiritual journey. "He grew up with us," wrote one ARMY member on the forum. "He used to sing to prove himself. Now he sings to calm his heart." Some see this change as a form of personal healing after years of being the center of the world's attention. Jungkook has finally learned to speak in his own voice, unfiltered, without demands. Many predicted that Jungkook's first live debut with his new vocal style would be a legendary moment. There are rumors he will be performing at a major music event later in the year, bringing new song arrangements with a full live band format, without playback. If true, it would be the first time the public has heard firsthand what the new color of his voice looks like on such a large scale. The fans envisioned a more intimate, more emotional concert atmosphere, with dim stage lights and a modern jazz bar-like atmosphere. Imagine Jungkook sitting in front of the mic, only accompanied by an acoustic guitar and a small smile on his face, then saying quietly, "This is me now." Such a moment will not only shake up the entertainment world, but also remind us that behind all the splendor of the industry, there is a soul that is still trying to grow and be honest. Now, when Jungkook's name returns to trending topics around the world, not because of chart achievements, not because of big collaborations, but because of one simple thing, his new vocals, it proves something. That the true power of an artist is not just in how high a pitch they can reach, but in how deep a feeling they can instill in their voice. Jungkook has proven himself to be not just BTS's golden mean, but a singer who evolves with time, dares to challenge himself, and continues to rewrite the definition of what it is to sing with heart. He has opened a new chapter in his career and perhaps in the history of global pop music. The world is waiting for what the next step will be, but one thing is certain: Jungkook is no longer just singing. He was speaking in a voice that finally belonged to him.